62%. According to a recent survey from Transamerica, out of 10,000 people, 62% felt they could work all the way to retirement and not have enough money to retire. 62%. That's a lot if you think about it. You've worked hard and done what you believed was right, and now you can't afford to retire? Wow. This is going to be a great show, and we'll certainly give you something to think about this beautiful weekend as it relates to the subject of retirement. So stick around for the entire show today. We got lots coming your way. Good morning. This is Protect Your Assets. I'm David Hollander. So 62%, that is a big one. What does it mean? Well, according to a recent Investopedia report on a Transamerica survey of 10,000 people, 62% of Americans agreed with a very unsettling statement. They believe they could work all the way until retirement and still not have enough money to meet their needs. Think about that. These are people doing everything they were told to do, working hard, putting in the years, putting money away in the 401ks, and still more than 3 in 5 fear it will not be enough. And this is not just a worry for people who never save. This anxiety reaches successful savers too. Executives, business owners, baby boomers with real assets. So why are people feeling this way? The survey pointed to what it called megatrends, big forces driving what the researchers described as the doldrums in Americans' retirement outlook. So today, find out what these megatrends are and so much more as we answer the question today, can you afford to retire? Now, let's get started. Well, this past week we had renewed tensions with Iran popping up again. We had growing concerns over AI, and the markets continued to fall. S&P down about 0.5%. 74.11, the year-to-date returns 8.3%. Dow off again about 0.5%. Index 51,947, up a little over 8% year-to-date. NASDAQ down 2.1% this week. So again, that's where the pain is. Up 7.5% year-to-date. That was a pretty big drop recently, right? Overall. Russell 2000 down 1.1% year-to-date. Still up over 18% at 18.1. MSCI, even international, down 1.4. Year-to-date, we're looking at 9.2. But what was driving a lot of this? Oil and yields. So the 10-year closed at 467, and crude oil up over 8% this week, closing at 89.31, up 24% year-to-date. So talk about volatility in the commodity space as it relates to oil. So a lot of questions are coming right now. And those are circling around tech, particularly in the Bay Area, obviously. We're pretty connected to it, aren't we? Yes, in a lot of ways. So good question. Thanks for asking, Steve. Let me get to Steve's question. And let me start by going back about a week and a half ago when IBM reported. Think about this. IBM suffered the largest single-day fall they've seen in 115 years. The whole company's history. Think about that. Their earnings weren't that bad. They were negative somewhat, but not that bad. And the worst part of it, what the report was not the financial results. It was the reason for the shortfall in earnings. And the reason that IBM cited was that customers are diverting their marketing budget, their spending budget, away from hardware and software, and instead pouring it into securing AI infrastructure like servers, chips, networking. And so the question became, will this sort of decline continue? Now, this past week we had Google announce. Not bad earnings once again, but what happened? See the theme developing? So let's look at the reasons why tech is frankly freaking out right now. Okay. So as you have these discussions or thoughts with your friends, you can cite these reasons. Ready? Here we go. Reason number one, or concern, I'll call it number one. Why is tech dropping? If you think about it, nothing really new has occurred over the past month, has it? Instead, the news that we keep seeing is confirming the fears that maybe this is another tech bubble once again. Is it too much? So this is the first concern. Is all the money flowing this direction to AI infrastructure too much? Is it too much money? So the big hyperscalers that we've talked about, well, the spend has reduced their free cash flow. Remember, they had so much cash flowing in for years and years and years, and nothing, it was not really going anywhere except into savings and buying stock back and things like that. Well, that's not the case anymore. And so you're seeing their annual free cash flow substantially reduced. Think about that. When you have a lot of money flowing, what do? You buy things, right, that you don't necessarily need. And when that money starts to dry up and go the other way, what do you do naturally? You tighten your belt. You don't buy that thing you didn't really need anymore, right? Right. Okay. That's economics. There it is. Concern number two. There's too much share supply. What does that mean? Well, the supply of AI-related investments, so far, the market's been able to absorb this supply. But now there's concern about, well, maybe there'll be too much and it won't be able to absorb at these prices. What's concern number three? There's too much inflation. This is the argument that's popping up in the Fed right now. They're going to talk this week on Wednesday, but believe me, they're talking about it right now as we're talking about it because inflation is around. It's sticky. And sure, you can link it to the oil and everything that oil does because it doesn't just oil, right? No, it relates to pretty much everything we consume and do. And so there is also a concern that inflation is spilling over into AI components. What does that mean? Well, the cost of these components, frankly, has gone parabolic. As supplies shrinking up, things have gotten a little expensive. And the capacity concern regarding semiconductors, memory, cloud space, other components that are critical to construction of these centers is a concern because it's like a spending war. Who can outspend who? Who can issue more debt? So the prices of these commoditized goods have gone way up. What's the fourth concern? There's too much competition. Like what? Well, China. You heard the moonshot? Because if you didn't hear this, you're hearing it right now. What's a moonshot? It's a Chinese AI company that is nearly as effective as OpenAI and Anthropic. Really? Is moonshot good enough to do what OpenAI and Anthropic can do? That's the question. I don't know. I haven't tried moonshot. Maybe you did. Concern number 5. There's too much capacity. What if we don't really need all these data centers after all? Anyway, these are the concerns. These are the arguments. Not necessarily correct, but you need to understand what's happening right now. You add to that the yields I was just talking about in the bond market, and you add to that the fact that Iran's reignited again, right? So next week, I will be paying attention to the Fed because they're meeting Wednesday. We would definitely want to hear what our new chairman says. Microsoft, Apple, Meta, and Amazon all report next week. Yeah, big 4 right there. So we'll see what they have to say. Q2, GDP, and inflation data this next week are coming out. So again, that could be some more inflationary things that other side of the Fed wants to talk about and see. So what should you do? Well, you should be speaking with your financial advisor right now because they can help you navigate economic, geopolitical, and policy shifts and help you make sure that your portfolio and your investments are aligned with what you're trying to do. If you're doing this by yourself, good luck. You can certainly call us, the Liberty Group, Speak to an advisor. In fact, we're here right now today. So if you want to call and just talk about this, 866-PROTECT. That's the number, 866-PROTECT. Now, when we come back, prices keep climbing. You want to know how inflation is going to affect your retirement. We're going to talk about this survey. 62% of you said that you can't retire. You're listening to Protect Your Assets. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I am David Hollander, also known as the Sandman around here. People call me the Sandman because I answer all those tough questions that you're worried about. How to protect your retirement, your pay less in taxes, what happens when you go to court, fighting over your assets with your brothers and sisters, or maybe like this past week, you get a letter from the county saying that you need to file this form or else they're going to raise your taxes on your property. What do? You call us, 866-PROTECT. That's what we do. We help you. So according to this recent survey from Transamerica, 62% of 10,000 people interviewed felt that they could work all the way to retirement and not have enough money to retire. 62%, that certainly got my attention. So what should you be doing? What should you be thinking about? What can you do about this if that's you? Well, before we go there, I've got a question that came in from Dom. Good morning, Dom. Thanks for asking this question. I'm just going to take it off the